Hello everyone and welcome back to Beatley Tones Beatles channel. Lovely to have you here. Thanks for joining me for this video and I hope you're all doing well. In today's video I'm going to be attempting to rank every one of John Lennon's singles. Now this is not an easy task because for a start there's 23 of them, because I've tried to include every single that has been released under John Lennon's name anywhere in the world. So, you know, it may not have been released in the UK or the US, but if it was released somewhere, then I have included it. Say there's 23 of them. It's not that easy because this is a fine body of work, and I've tried to get them in my order. Now I haven't ranked them in order of their success, their chart positions, or the number of sales, that sort of thing. I've ranked them according to how much I like them. Now I totally accept that your ranking will be completely different to mine, or some of it will be different to mine, but please tell me your ranking down in the comments. Give me your top 5, your top 10. Do all 23 if you want to. I'd love you to share that with me, and I'll enjoy reading how you guys rank these singles as well. Now, before we get on, a big warm welcome to all the new subscribers. Thank you everyone who has been subscribing. There have been quite a few of you recently, so thanks very much for that. Really appreciate that, and I hope you enjoy the content here. Everyone, please remember to give the video a like because it really helps the channel, really helps my videos get out there. So you'd be doing me a big favour by remembering to like the video. And if you're watching on your phone, hit the hype button. Hit the hype button if you see it. That has really been helping as well. Really appreciate everyone who has been hitting the hype button and telling me you've done that down in the comments. And of course, if you have just stumbled across this channel by accident and not subscribed, please consider supporting the channel by subscribing. Love to have you along for the ride, and it is of course absolutely free. Not only is it absolutely free, but this channel is absolutely ad free as well. I don't have any ads in my videos mid-roll, so you can watch the video from start to finish without being interrupted by adverts constantly. That will never change. That's my promise to you, that this channel will never have ads mid-roll on the video. So that's another good reason to subscribe. Okay, let's get on with the ranking. Okay, bottom of the pile at number 23, it is Give Peace a Chance, John Lennon's first ever solo single, and also one of his most successful, certainly during his lifetime. Got to number 2 in the UK, got to number 14 in the US. And you know, it's got a catchy chorus. It's got a very catchy chorus. It's a great slogan, but there's not a lot else there. It's a little bit off the cuff, and so that is why this one comes quite low. Well, it comes the lowest in my my ranking. Now, number 22 comes from this album, Rock and Roll, but it's not Stand By Me. This is the track Ya Ya, which I didn't even know was released as a single anywhere until I did the research for this video, but it was released in Germany. It got to number 47. The B-side of it was Bebop-A-Lula, also from this album. And the Rock and Roll album is an album that I like a lot, and but Ya Ya is one of my least favourite tracks from that album. So Ya Ya comes in at number 22. At 21, I've gone for Borrowed Time from Milk and Honey. This is the 12-inch single, and the problem with this song is, I always thought that Borrowed Time had the potential to be a really good song if John had the chance to finish it. It's got that lovely sort of reggae flavour to it, but on the Milk and Honey album, it is so undeveloped and so unfinished that we will never know how good this song could be. So that's why I've had to rank this quite low. It's that unknown element. So Borrowed Time from Milk and Honey is in at 21. Didn't do bad chart wise. Got number 32 in the UK. Quite a poor showing in the US. 108 was its best showing in the US. At number 20, I've gone for Power to the People. I've got this weird copy of Power to the People where the A-side is on the split apple and the B-side, which is Open Your Box, is on the Green Apple. I don't know if everyone's single is like that or it's just mine, but this is the single that I picked up, in the late 70s, I suppose. Picked that up. So Power to the People, another sloganeering song, another political song. It was recorded during the Imagine sessions with the usual cast of musicians that played on that. Jim Gordon, I think, was on drums on this, Klaus Voormann on bass. There are 45 backing singers on this, including Doris Troy and Madeline Bell, who stamped their feet and clapped their hands to give the impression they were on a political rally. This is, I really do like this song. Actually, it does. It's kind of rocks and it's kind of funky. And one of the things that I really love about John Lennon is he was the most famous pop star in the world, or one of them at least. But that didn't stop him, getting down on the street with the people and marching alongside them and that sort of thing. So that that was the sort of thing that he was into in 1971. Later in life, he kind of dismissed this song. I think in 1980, in an interview, he said he was asleep when he wrote it, and it didn't really come off. And he kind of he recorded it because he wanted to be loved by people like Tariq Ali and his ilk, sort of thing. So he kind of dismissed it, but I quite kind of like it. It's my number 20. Power to the People got to number 7 in the UK, number 11 in the US. Its best showing was in Norway, where it got to number 3, and you'll see as we go through, a lot of John Lennon singles did very, very well in Norway. Now, at number 19, I've included this. Now, I wasn't even sure whether to include this as a genuine John Lennon single. This is the John Lennon live performance of I Saw Her Standing There. That is the A-side of this single, where John got up at Madison Square Garden at Elton John's show. You know the story. Elton recorded Whatever Gets You Through the Night with John, said if he got to number 1, then you've got to come up on stage with me. And it did get to number 1. So up he went. This was recorded on the 28th of November 1974, and it's not the best version of I Saw Her Standing There that you'll ever hear, but the great thing about this single is that it is the love for John Lennon. When Elton John announces him to come on stage, it's my great pleasure to introduce your great pleasure to hear Mr. John Lennon. And when John gets up, he announces the song as a song by an old estranged fiance of mine called Paul, which was really nice. He got up on what turned out to be his penultimate live performance and played what is essentially a Paul McCartney song. Also on the single is Whatever Gets You Through the Night and Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds live from Madison Square Garden. But the reason why I wasn't sure to include it is more considered to be an Elton John single rather than a John Lennon single. It's on Elton's label, and it's credited to the Elton John Band featuring John Lennon. So I wasn't really sure whether to include it or not, but decided to anyway. It got to number 40 in the UK. It was released in 1981 after John's death. It also got to number 8 in Norway. Number 18, I've gone for Happy Christmas War Is Over. Now, I know a lot of people probably put this higher in their list. It is an anthem. It's part Christmas song, it's part protest song. War Is Over, talking about the Vietnam War. Now, this was released initially in the US in 1971, November 1971, which made it like a little bit too late to cash in on the Christmas market. Consequently, it only got to number 38 in 1971. It was released the following year in the UK and did far better, getting to number 4. Of course, its best showing in the UK was number 2, which it got to in December 1980 after John had been murdered. I do really like this. do really like this song. I love the way that the guitars are playing as if they're like mandolins, and it is anthemic. But maybe it suffers a little bit of over familiarity, because it is always played every Christmas. Usually makes the charts somewhere along the line every Christmas, and it's always on those Christmas type albums. Now that's what I call Christmas and that sort of thing. So maybe suffers a little bit from that, but it is a good song, and that is my number 18. Number 17 on my list is Woman is the Figure of the World. Now, my opinion, this was never single material. I think probably the lead-off single from Sometime in New York City should have been the track New York City. It wasn't released as a single in all territories, didn't get a UK release as a single, but it did in America. It only got to number 57 because lots of radio stations refused to play it. Its best showing around the world was in the Netherlands, where it got to number 21. But it is a song of its time, and I find it quite difficult to get behind it these days. It's not a song that I dislike. I do like it, and it is certainly revolutionary for its time. But things have changed. So, one of the things that we know is that when they were working on it in the studio, Adam Ippolito from Elephant's Memory Band, the keyboard player in Elephant's Memory Band, took John aside and said, "Are you really going to say that?" And John was insistent to make this analogy, and he uses the analogy to really accentuate the plight of women and how things were in 1972, and he was right. But things have changed. Blokes know how to use a washing machine these days, and they don't treat women like they did back in the 70s. Things have moved on, and of course the fight for total equality, goes on, but a lot of things have changed, and women do have equal rights in so many ways now. Picking up top jobs and that sort of thing, and they're just not really treated in this way by most men, which back in the 70s was kind of thought of as being the norm. But when you take that aspect into consideration, the kind of degradation of women is not as relevant now as it was back in 1972. All you're left with is a word that conjures up images of lynching and segregation and slavery and dehumanization and that sort of thing. And I find it hard to get behind the song. It is a song that I like. I think it's got great sax solo from Stan Bronstein. It's got a great guitar solo from Tex Gabriel, but the production is not great. John's vocals are very much buried in the mix. It's very Phil Spector production, and that kind of makes me a little bit sad, because probably the song could have been improved so much by the remix, which obviously we are missing. But when you go through these lyrics, is it a pro-women song? Because he doesn't say anything positive about women in this song. He just talks about how they were treated back in 1972. Later in life, I think on the last day of his life, he did an interview with Dave Sholan and Laurie Kay, and he talks about being embarrassed by this song. He says it didn't really do what it was supposed to do. And, when he was putting together the Shaved Fish compilation, which was the first place where I heard this song, he shaves about almost a minute off the song. He drops that entire verse. We make her bear and raise our children, then we leave her flat for being a fat old mother hen. We tell her home is the only place she should be. Then we complain she's too unworldly to be our friend. He completely dropped that verse and, said in that interview that he was embarrassed by it. So John, kind of changed his stance on this song. So Woman is the Figure of the World. That's my number 17. Let's move on. At 16, I've gone for Every Man Has a Woman Who Loves Him from this album of the same title. And this is a compilation album of various artists doing covering Yoko's songs, and obviously Every Man Has a Woman Who Loves Him is a song from Double Fantasy where Yoko sings lead. They've just taken that take, remixed it so that John's vocal, which throughout the Double Fantasy version runs underneath Yoko's, is now the lead vocal, and taken Yoko's vocal off. It's a great song. It's really funky, and I really do like that song. It's one of my favourite Yoko songs from Double Fantasy, and it's great with John singing lead vocal. It wasn't a hit anywhere in the world, didn't make the charts anywhere at all, but I still really like it, and that's my number 16. Now, number 15, quite surprisingly, is Whatever Gets You Through the Night, from Walls and Bridges. I first heard it on Shaved Fish, the song that he features Elton John very heavily throughout. I prefer the remix that was done on the Gimme Some Truth album, the compilation album in 2020, where they've raised John's vocal higher in the mix. But the single version is a good song. Again, very funky, very sort of 1970s, but it feels a little bit more like an Elton John song than it does a John Lennon song. I think on the original mix on Walls and Bridges, it did well. Got to number 1 in the US, only number 36 in the UK, got to number 2 in Canada. So that is my number 15, Whatever Gets You Through the Night from Walls and Bridges. At number 14, I've gone for Stand By Me, the lead-off single from the rock and roll album, John's brilliant cover of the Ben E. King classic. Absolutely love it. I love that acoustic guitar in it, and his voice is just absolutely amazing in it. An interesting single because it's got Move Over Miss L on the B-side, a very rare John Lennon B-side, non-album track. This is the only place you can get this particular version. There is a version of it on the Lennon Anthology, but this is the finished studio version of Move Over Miss L. So Stand By Me, that is my number 14. Got to number 30 in the UK, number 20 in the US. Its best showing worldwide was in Canada, where it got to number 13. At number 13, I've gone for the lead-off track from Milk and Honey, I'm Stepping Out. Love this song, a really upbeat song, and it's almost finished. Unlike Borrowed Time, where there's still a lot of work to do, I'm Stepping Out is pretty much almost finished. Obviously missing overdubs. There's a few sort of guitar interludes in the middle, breaks in the middle, where they may have stuck a solo, a guitar solo, or maybe a keyboard solo. There's a really interesting version on Lennon Anthology, a much more laid back version with an extra verse, which didn't make the version that got on Milk and Honey, but really like that track. That's my number 13. Didn't do very well as a single. I think it was the third single off of Milk and Honey, so by the time I'm Stepping Out came out as a single, probably everyone already had it. Got to number 88 in the UK and number 55 in the US. My number 12 is Just Like Starting Over. It's got a bit, my one's got a chunk missing that was eaten by my cat called Taurus. I don't know why he was called Taurus, because he was a Sagittarius, but he did like to have a chew on some of my picture sleeves. I've got some others that have got big chunks out of them. I was so excited when this single was released. This was the first single that I was able to buy as a John Lennon fan. As you probably know, I became a fan in 1976. John had already retired at that point when we heard that he was back in the studio making new music. I was so excited to buy this single, and I just played this to death while we waited for Double Fantasy to be released. It came out, I think, in November 1980. Great song, a sort of kind of a maybe a Roy Orbison pastiche, but I do really love it. It got to number 1 in both the UK and the US, but it was already slipping down the charts before John was murdered. When that happened, it just went straight to number 1. So just like starting over. That is my number 12. Number 11 on my list is Mind Games from 1973. A fantastic song, such a dreamy ballad. Maybe it's a little bit Imagine light. I don't know, but I think it's a much more complicated song than Imagine, and I always really loved it. But the remix that we got in 2024 just elevated it even more in my estimation, with John's vocals much clearer and more to the front, and just a bigger sound, a bigger spacey sound. It's such a dreamy ballad, a fantastic song. Didn't do that well in the charts. Number 26 in the UK was its highest placing. In the US it got to number 18, but in Norway it got to number 2. Well done, Norway. So moving on, number 10, Mother. First time I heard it was on Shaved Fish, which is a slightly edited version of the song that knocks about 30 seconds off of the original. But Mother comes from the Plastic Ono Band, and that whole album, it's not really a concept album, but a lot of the songs have got that same sort of feel, and I'm not sure how well Mother sits on its own outside of that album. It's certainly, for me, not really single material. It's not a commercial song. It's quite harrowing, as you know. I've always thought that it's not really commercial enough to have been a single. It wasn't a single in the UK. It was in America, where it got to number 43. In Switzerland, it got to number 3. There's no denying that it's a fantastic song. It's just not really single material for me, but I've placed it so high because it is such a brilliant song. So that is my number 10. At number 9, I've gone for Woman from Double Fantasy. This is John being Beatle John, isn't it, on this song? And what's wrong with that? It was lovely to hear. And we talked earlier about woman is the figure of the world, how it doesn't really say anything positive about women. Well, the song Woman from Double Fantasy is a real tribute to women, I think, particularly Yoko, obviously, who is the inspiration for this song. But it's a great song, and really, really commercial, really poppy, and it got to number 1 in the UK, but only after John's death. It also got to number 2 in the US, and in Austria and Canada it got to number 1. But there was that period after John had died where John was constantly top of the charts in the UK for quite a few weeks, when starting over went back up to number 1 after John died. It was there for a couple of weeks. Then after that, Imagine was number 1 for about 4 weeks, and when Imagine wasn't number 1 anymore, then Woman was number 1. And I've never really forgiven the British public for allowing a comedy record by a bloke called Joe Dolce called Shut Up Your Face to knock Woman off the number 1 spot early in 1981. What a disgrace. We should be ashamed of ourselves. But Woman, that is my number 9. So number 8 on my list is Cold Turkey. What a song. What a song. Brilliant song. Really harrowing song about coming off heroin. Fantastic guitar riff, fantastic singing on that. Is it a single? Not in a million years. It did quite well because it was John's his second, solo single. That helped it a lot. But this is not a commercial song. As I say, quite a harrowing song. John gave back his MBE and used Cold Turkey slipping down the charts, and the as he described it in his letter to the Queen, the Niagara Biafra thing, as a reason for giving back his MBE, which kind of cheapened the process a little bit when he mentioned Cold Turkey slipping down the charts. But that was John's humour, and we love him for it. Cold Turkey, number 14 in the UK, number 30 in America, and number 9 in Norway. At number 7, this might raise a few eyebrows. It's Imagine. Imagine wasn't even released as a single in the UK back in 1971. It wasn't until 1975 that it was put out as a single, and only then to be the promotional single for the compilation Shaved Fish. It did come out as a single in America in 1971. You may question me putting this, quite so low. It is John's most popular song as a solo artist, I'm sure, and definitely one of his most commercial singles. But I just feel like we've been a little bit imagined to death by now. We've heard it so many times, and there's a little bit of fatigue attached to this song for me personally, and that's why I've put it a little bit lower on my list. And the thing that always makes me laugh about this song is people's complaint about it. They always say, "Oh, he's a millionaire, what's he talking about? Imagine no possessions." He likes. That isn't the point. That is not the point. The point is, imagine no possessions. He's just saying imagine it. He's not saying give away everything you own apart from your underpants. He's not saying that. He's just saying imagine what it would be like with no possessions, no religion, no countries, that sort of thing. So imagine. That is my number 7. Maybe a little bit low, but fatigue has crept in on that song. Number 6, I've gone for Nobody Told Me. I just love this song. I love the wit in the song. I love that little riff that's got the funky little riff that's in that. Just love it. Very good song. It was the lead-off single from Milk and Honey. Unlike Borrowed Time, this is pretty much finished. Maybe missing a few overdubs or something like that, but it's pretty much complete as it is, and I just love it. Everybody's smoking, nobody's getting high. Everyone's making love. No one really cares. There's Nazis in the bathroom just above the stairs. I love it. I love the humour in the lyrics on this. Nobody Told Me. That is my number 6. It got to number 6 in the UK, number 5 in the US, and number 4 in Canada. Okay, we're into the top 5, and my number 5 is the song Love from Plastic Ono Band, which came out as a single to promote this compilation, the John Lennon collection, in 1982. If you ask me, it probably should have been the lead-off single from Plastic Ono Band. It's probably the most commercial song on that album, and I'm sure it would have done really well. Beautiful ballad. It's such a good song. I couldn't leave it out. It didn't do very well. It only got to number 41 in the UK. Didn't chart anywhere else in the world. And but such a great song. A real missed opportunity, I think. So Love from Plastic Ono Band, or the John Lennon collection, is my number 5. At number 4, that comes from Double Fantasy, and it's Watching the Wheels. Now, I just absolutely love this song. I think this song is as good as anything John wrote during his solo career. Just a brilliant song about, adjusting to life as a house husband out of the music business. Just a really beautiful song, and I think it was the 3rd single from Double Fantasy. So a bit like I'm Stepping Out, by the time it came out as a single, everybody already had it on the album, especially as Double Fantasy sold so well after John's death. It got to number 30 in the UK, number 10 in the US, number 3 in Canada. But Watching the Wheels is just one of my favourite John Lennon songs of all time. At number 3, I've gone for Number 9 Dream. Number 9 Dream from Walls and Bridges. Again, brilliant song. Such a beautiful, dreamy ballad. I can't wait to hear this song remixed when we get the ultimate mixes for Walls and Bridges. But it's just such a gorgeous song. I've put this at number 3. I've kind of deliberating about my top 3 for a while. It only got to number 23 in the UK, got to number 9 in the US appropriately. But Number 9 Dream, that is my number 3. Brilliant song. So number 2 on my list comes from the Imagine album, the track Jealous Guy. It was released as a single in 1985, and I can't for the life of me remember why. I don't know why it was released in 1985. It had been released a couple of years earlier, or a few years earlier, maybe 1981, I could understand it more because Roxy Music took this song to #1 with a really cheesy version of the song. But why it was released in 1985, no idea, can't remember. But what a song, one of the top tracks from the Imagine album, absolutely beautiful ballad. Nicky Hopkins' piano on it is absolutely gorgeous. John's singing is fantastic as well, and a real heartfelt song, I feel, and a real super ballad from John from 1971. That is my #2. Have you worked out what #1 is yet? It's Instant Karma, these days known as Instant Karma, open brackets, We All Shine On, close brackets, but on the original single is always just called Instant Karma. A fantastic song that was written, recorded, mixed, and in the shops within a week. A real instant song, big hit, #5 in the UK, #3 in the US. Brilliant song. Love how that piano sounds on that song, the way that John sings it in that kind of deep voice. And I'm always quite critical of Phil Spector's production, but I think the production on this song is superb, probably his best that he did, best work that he did with any of the solo Beatles. I think Instant Karma, just a brilliant song. And did I say about Alan White's drum fills? Just fantastic on that. Plays them with such finesse. So I make Instant Karma my favourite John Lennon single of all time. But what about yours? I can't wait to hear what your top 5 is, your top 10. You can give me all top 23 if you like down in the comments. I do read all your comments and I will respond to all your comments as well. So looking forward to see how you guys rank these songs. Okay, that is it from me. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video and I'll see you all very soon. Bye bye.